Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Now for those that have followed the channel for quite some time, we've done a few videos with a guy called Iostux who was a private coach and used to help people out to improve at Overwatch. Well, if you haven't seen the good news, Iostux is now one of the main coaches for New York XL's academy team XL2, which plays in NA Contenders. So I thought that was a good opportunity to sit down with him, congratulate him, go over the path he went from sort of looking at his own gameplay and improving to now coaching one of the biggest known teams in the Overwatch contender scene, but also to talk about the meta, Symmetra, Hammond, all the other PTR changes, and what he thinks will actually change up the meta as we go along. You can find all of Iostux's details in the description below, but let's get started. So let's start with introductions, because I want to hear you say it yourself. Who are you, and why should people listen to you when it comes to Overwatch?
Hello, my name is Iostux, and I am the current coach for the XL2 Academy team in Contenders.
What does that feel like? Because we've been speaking to you on the channel ever since you were a private coach. Like, that's a big move. That's a big transition.
It's a pretty big upgrade, going from, you know, a platinum player that plays 6 hours a week to, you know, Nanohana, who is like, you know,
Previously known as Flower,
who is still known for his World Cup performance, kind of just destroying everyone. So yeah, it's quite the upgrade, but you know, I believe we're gonna do fine.
Now you've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of people at this point when it comes to like coaching individuals of different ranks. I guess the approach that you always have is to try and make them play more like professionals. How do you make ranked better? Because that's one of the biggest complaints. Is like, whilst the highest tier of Overwatch is fun to play and how Overwatch should be played, ranked is a very different story. So with endorsements, with a looking for group system, what would you change or alter about how us normal plebeians actually play ranked?
Don't call yourself a plebeian. If it weren't for people like you, then, you know, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. So LFG was probably one of the best additions to the game, like, since the game pretty much came out, and I don't think there are going to be a lot of people who disagree with me on that. Endorsements, I feel like, are kind of... I mean, I don't have the statistical data, so I cannot say if it works super well. But it seems kind of, you know, tacked on almost. Like, it doesn't feel as impactful as LFG to me personally. The main issues that stem from these two new introductions is that they aren't really that useful in the higher ranks. But then again, I don't think these features were really intended for it. I think the main thing that I would like to see, and like the biggest addition that, you know, the developers have to do to the game right now, is a separate solo queue environment. You know, where players can opt in to play on their own and, you know, be matched against other people who play on their own. And then, on the other hand, to maybe also have, you know, an in-game tournament system or an in-game system for, you know, 6 stacks to play. Right, it's very hard. So with the looking for a group feature, it has been a really great addition, but it doesn't, you know, fit with everyone. Right, what the LFG system is for is just for people who want to come together. In the end, it's like solo queue, but with better teammates. Right, it's not coordinated team play, and it's not coordinated, you know, solo play, I guess. So if Blizzard finds a way to add features for, you know, for teams, right, you know, a separate team ladder, or even just the option to change which region you want to play on in a custom game. You still can't do that. If you want to play on a different server, you have to put in the right players and restart the match just so that, you know, you get decent ping. And solo queuers as well are still being put into games where they have to play against 6 stacks. So yeah, I think it's been a really good change, but the solo queue should probably be the next step, I'd say.
So you've managed to watch and coach some of the better players in the world. I just kind of wanted to ask you, for like normal people in ranked, is there any hero, composition, like playstyle, any tips that you'd give to, or almost want to like showcase to people in ranked, be like, you should play this hero more, you should try and do this more, because it's a really strong strategy that you guys in the pro scene are actually using?
Okay, I'm probably not gonna make a lot of like friends with this, but I actually think that MEI, after her buff, is kind of nuts. Like,
you mean the buff that's on the PTR, as in like the no fall off?
Yeah. So, and like, it probably won't be too long until that comes out. And like, even now, like with the fact that her freeze, you know, goes through people, she's gonna be like I wouldn't sleep on her. Like, that's a pretty big change. So I'd love to see people kind of prepare for that, and you kind of pull out the MEI. You know, obviously it doesn't work on every map and against every comp, but I think, you know, against Reinhardt compositions and on more closed off maps like Kings Row or Oasis University or something like that, or First Point Hanamura, yeah. Like, you know, give MEI a shot. I think she could work, you know, really well. And other than that, I guess as a message to main tank players, now it's more important than ever to be very diverse with your hero pool, and kind of the same thing with off-tank players. You can't just get away with one-tricking Winston all day long. You can't get away with never touching Orisa. If you really want to be a good addition to your team, and if you want to find success, especially in comp, there is no way around, you know, becoming proficient on every single main tank, so that you can play, you know, the correct main tank, you know, in quotations, for each map.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, just from your perspective then, if you guys have been playing, do you look at Hammond and go, he's going to enable triple tank dive, he's going to contest what D.Va does, or do you look at him and go, nobody's really going to play him, it's just business as usual for the main tanks and off tanks?
I think his skill ceiling is so high. He reminds me a lot of Ana, if you remember the time around Ana's release, where everyone was kind of like, you know, she's kind of trash. You know, why would anyone pick Ana over Mercy? But then over time, people got good with her. You know, they got closer to that skill ceiling that she offers, and all of a sudden, Ana was being played every match. And I think Hammond is gonna be similar, where at the start, when nobody really knows what to do with him, he's gonna be like kind of useless and, you know, not really that great. But give it a couple weeks. People are going to learn how his movement works. They're going to learn all of the interactions. They're going to learn how to, you know, maximize his shield, how he should be played, what team comps he should be played in. And he could be really good. Like, some people are kind of thinking about running him as a third tank. So you would play Winston, D.Va, Hammond, and then maybe Doomfist even. And, you know, you just kind of smash into the enemy team. Right?
Yeah, and then you just sustain points like triple tank.
Yeah,
you could have a Moira as a healer and stuff.
Exactly. So obviously we don't know. Okay, we have no idea, and like making any predictions right now is just a surefire way to be, you know, wrong in the end and to regret having said that. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Hammond is going to be seen in, you know, some form of high level play, at least at the start, because Blizzard does have a tendency to make, you know, newly released characters a little more on the strong side. So yeah, I'm gonna say that teams are gonna experiment with him, and there are probably gonna be some situations where he could be really, really strong.
I guess another hero to talk about there is Symmetra. Like, basically comes into the game as a new hero, isn't in ranked yet, no doubt isn't on the contenders patch or anything like that. Again, a similar sort of question. Do you think that she's going to, like, break the meta, change the way that the game is played fundamentally, or is it still the same problems but just with a different sort of coat of paint?
Okay, so first of all, her ultimate is kind of insane.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, because so maybe some of you know about like the Winston technique, where he places down his shield and then he kind of, you know, dances around the edge of the shield to, you know, always keep the shield between him and the enemy. Just imagine a Symmetra, you know, you're playing a new Temple of Anubis, you're attacking the second point, your Symmetra, you know, dies, she's just coming back from spawn, and while she is in spawn, she can just place her ultimate all the way to the point, and all of a sudden the, you know, your entire team can just, you know, play a game with the enemy team and, you know, keep running through that shield, and it's gonna soak up so much damage. So her ultimate being global is insane, because I don't think, I mean, we had Widowmaker ultimate, I guess, but we didn't really have like any true high impact global ultimates like this before in the game, and I think it's gonna make, you know, things very interesting. And by far the most interesting aspect of her play is probably going to be her teleporter, by far. It depends on the map, so I think she's gonna remain a niche character, that's for sure. I don't see her becoming a meta pick that's gonna be ran on like the majority of the maps. But people just need to discover what we can do with her teleporter, and if we find any good setups, any high grounds that we can set up on where it's going to be really difficult for the enemies to touch us unless they have a Symmetra of their own or a dive combo or something. I think Symmetra is very healthy game design, because what she does is she just adds new forms of strategy and new forms of comms that you can run that you previously couldn't run, just because her teleporter gives teams that previously didn't have a lot of mobility, didn't have a lot of verticality, the option to, kite against dive comp, get up on high ground for better sidelands, etc., etc.
That makes sense. Now I kind of want to talk about the journey that you've sort of been on, and less so more about what you'd suggest. I think you see more people sort of coming out of the woodwork on game knowledge on how to get better. Like Jane's a notable example of somebody like that. When it comes to being able to do it yourself, either as a player that just wants to improve themselves, or somebody that maybe wants to like coach the team that their friends playing in and plays in stuff like Scrim Centrals, like Buller, Diamond tournaments. How do you even start when it comes to looking, criticizing and coaching yourself, other people you don't know? How do you really go about that for any people that want to get better at the game or want to like maybe be a coach like yourself?
Okay, so the first thing that people need to realize is that doing VOD reviews, so going over your own recorded gameplay, is like a skill in of itself. Okay, so it's kind of like I can't really find a good analogy for it. Let me think.
Is that how you got to the point where you became so good at giving people actual coaching? Is most of the criticism you gave yourself and then tried to translate that to other people, or?
Pretty much, yeah. So people think that the main issue that they need to solve is, they need to become better at playing Overwatch. And they think that doing VOD reviews is a tool to, become better at Overwatch. But then when they try going over their gameplay, they just think, okay, how am I supposed to learn anything from this? I have no idea what I'm looking at. But don't think of VOD reviews as this kind of tool that you just pick up and, it's gonna do something for you. It's a skill in of itself that you need to develop. Okay, I wouldn't have been able to make a profession out of this if everyone could just pick up a VOD and review it. Okay, it's something that you learn over time. So of course, when you start doing a VOD review and you cannot for the life of you figure out what you're supposed to do better, what do you expect? Of course, you just started it. It's a new skill that you have no experience on, and you need to keep doing it. You need to keep practicing. At first, you might need to watch the VOD 3 times back to back, 4 times back to back, 5 times back to back, until it's so ingrained into your head that, you can finally start picking out some details that might help you. But over time, you'll be able to see mistakes and see patterns in your play more easily. And the better your VOD reviewing gets as a skill, the more it's going to help you as a player. So don't expect to start VOD reviewing and immediately see progress in game. You should start VOD reviewing with the intent of becoming better at doing VOD reviews.
That makes sense. You said before, like, trying to pick out things to help you. Have you got any examples of that? I imagine positioning, ult usage, but like, are there any others that might not be so obvious?
Some people don't really think about. So when they're doing VOD reviews, most people have the mindset of, okay, this is for me, I'm trying to figure out what I can do better. And that's obviously what you should be doing, right? You shouldn't be blaming your teammates, you shouldn't be focusing on what they could do better. You should focus on what you should do better. But that doesn't mean that you need to look at your VOD in some sort of bubble where only you exist, okay? You still need to look at what your teammates do, but not with the intent of criticizing them for what they do, but rather to figure out how you can play around it, right? So, you could be saying, oh, okay, my teammates are trickling, but I'm a good player, I'm focusing on myself, I'm gonna leave that to the side. No, if your teammates are trickling, ask yourself, how should I be playing around that? Am I trickling? Should I maybe regroup better with my team? Should I communicate more? Or, certain combos, like if you have your Hanzo Dragon Strike, for example, you could tell yourself, oh, okay, my Zarya wasted her Graviton Surge, just now, like I can't do anything about that. Or you could think to yourself, okay, I don't have any control over how my Zarya plays, so I shouldn't focus on it at all, and I should just try to use my Hanzo Dragon Strike on my own without the Grab-ended Surge, and try to get the most out of that. But again, that's not the correct approach. You look objectively at what your teammates do. You don't judge them for it. You don't say this was bad, this was good. You just look at what they do and you figure out what the correct play is. VOD reviewing is a lot like playing blackjack or any other sort of card game, okay? Where if you get a certain hand, and instead of complaining about the hand being bad, you just objectively think about which move is going to give you the highest chance of winning. Okay, if you get a soft 16 in blackjack, which is a very, very bad hand, you're not going to complain about it being a bad hand. You're just going to figure out, okay, what is the best move that I can do here?
Cool. And I guess finally to finish off, before we do all of the sort of plugs on your social media and stuff, are there any sort of final tips that you want to go over that may not seem as obvious as stuff that we've said in the past? Anything that you really want to highlight at the present time in Overwatch?
I mean, okay, so this is, I guess, not like super relevant to right now, because this has been like a tip that I've always, tried giving out. But the best thing you can do to improve is to challenge yourself. And the best way to challenge yourself is to put yourself into an environment you haven't been in before. So what I'm trying to get at is, try joining a team, for example. Try to play, scrimmages with them. Maybe try to join, some of the, amateur tournaments. Don't just, fall into this habit where you grind competitive every day and, you kind of don't want to play the game anymore. Just try something new, right? And with LFG, it's, easier than ever to find, a nice bunch of people that you can play with, repeatedly. And kind of get into the competitive side, because as a lot of other content creators have said, solo queue Overwatch has nothing to do with what you see in the Overwatch League. So do yourself a favor and, try to experience the game how it's meant to be played. And the game isn't meant to be played, on your own, in the evening with a bunch of toxic kids. It's meant to be played as a team. And while some people might be shy at first and they don't really want to play with strangers, I guess kind of getting over that mental barrier can make the game so much more enjoyable for you.
Cool. And finally, where can people find more from you on sort of social media and stuff, and just any last thoughts you want to give out on this sort of special video?
Well, I guess I'm very glad that I made the XL2 Academy team. Like that's pretty sick. I didn't expect that. I'm gonna try my best to, we're gonna try to win this contenders season. Obviously, you can go to twitch.tv/Overwatch contenders, all written together, if you want to watch the matches. And so for my personal stuff, you can follow me on Twitter at Iostux_coaching is my Twitter handle. You can also, under the same name, find my YouTube channel. I don't have the time to upload that much anymore, but probably during the off season of contenders, I'll be able to create some stuff. And that's pretty much it.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. It's honestly great to see Iostux thriving in this situation. Good to see that he's really going up the ladder and is now coaching one of the biggest teams in the contender scene. So congratulations to him. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.